Good morning, good morning. Detroit in black and white from McShane's today. Happy Saturday morning to everybody. I'm with Adolph Mongo, star of the show, and we're ready to move forward. Where's everybody at today? We don't have any of our friends down.
We're send you some money. Well, it's a Saturday. It'll be a nice day. My outrage of the week. Let me do it.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Kevin Hart had a roast on Netflix, and several white comedians made fun of George Floyd, slavery, and lynching. Have you ever heard anybody making fun of the Holocaust?
No.
Or all the people that were killed in China by the Japanese, the rape of Nanking? Have you heard anybody making fun of Native Americans and what happened to them? No. But why is it George Floyd? We saw it on live on TV. Take his last breath, speak his last words. And I don't think it was funny. Kevin Hart should have his ass kicked for sitting up there laughing. They made fun of his father, crack addiction. When do it stop?
Well, that's society today, unfortunately, Adolph. I think that's the problem that we have today. You can't, there is no common sense. It's all hatred, right? This poor man was murdered, regardless if he had an addiction, regardless if he did something wrong, regardless if he robbed a bank. It's a loss. When we lose lives, it's insanity. When people look down on somebody, people get in car crashes, right? They may have been drinking, they may have been doing something wrong, but it's still tragic when anybody loses their life.
A roast or no roast, I'd have got up and say, shut the fuck up. But, people getting paid. They got to fulfill a contract. It doesn't make it right.
Let's say hello to our friends out there. Hello, Derek. It's great to see you. Dwayla, grand rising to you. Good morning, Stephanie Jackson. Kenneth Reed. Kenneth, where are you at? We're here. We're here at your home base here. Les, a sad world. I agree, Les. We're with you. Mr. 1213, thanks for tuning in. Jill Sheridan. No, she's not driving over to McShane's this morning. Good morning to you. DeBrayler, good morning.
Usually soccer people are here, and you can hear them, but not today. Yeah. Who's next? Emmett Till? Who next? The four little black girls who was blew up in the church in 1963? Do we make fun of JFK getting his head blown off? When do it stop?
Kevin Hart is the Hollywood tool. Thank you, Les. Good six. Timothy Square Bay. Good morning to you, Timothy. Kenneth's going to the Michigan Week Parade in Highland Park. Good for you. Everybody's going early this morning. Teresa and I drove in from the country town of Trenton this morning, and I missed one. I'm sorry. Sometimes we read the comments, and we don't exactly understand what the point is. Nope, we don't have a grocery store in Trenton, but we're still suburban. So, what do you think, Adolph? I started to take an informal poll last night on the Democratic senatorial candidates. I don't know if anybody wants to talk about that, if they have any strong feelings. I know that Abdul El Sayed is getting a lot of support in Wayne County.
Fuck him.
We talked about your article a little bit. We talked about Mallory McMorrow and how she seems to not really care about the regular people. She kind of blew us off in the interview you guys had with her. And we talked about Haley Stevens, who all three of them have been on the show.
Yeah, but I kind of disagree with you. I don't think she blew us off.
Well, I'm talking about the voters, not you specifically.
But those are the ones that are going to either select her or not.
So you don't think she had contempt for the voters?
Not really. She's a politician. I look at all of them. The politicians, sometimes they double talk. You got to read into their answer.
Well, I'm on the bad side of 60, and I don't remember it ever taking me 2 years to move anywhere. So, and I vote in the district that I live in, not trying
It's
to.
not illegal to. They do it all the time. You don't have to live in a district. You don't have to live in a state to run for the Senate. And carpetbaggers go to New York. Hillary got elected. Bobby Kennedy got elected. Mitt Romney, hell, he was the governor of Massachusetts. He got a job with the Olympics, won the Olympics in Utah. He stayed there and became a U.S. Senator.
Let's leave that one up there for a minute, Teresa. I want to get to that point. Hazel Park Taekwondo, thank you for joining us. Thank you for what you do for our community. And when you talk about community, you say Wayne County bought and paid for by his community. So, if you want to talk a little bit about your article, I don't know if you've been talking about it, but I think it's important to know about what's going on with the Church of the Black Madonna. And
the Shrine of the Black Madonna was well-known church. Their political arm, the Black Slate, started off as supporting only Black candidates, but they evolved throughout the years. They helped get Coleman Young elected. Reverend Albert B. Clegg, he was a regular minister, worked at integrated churches, came to Detroit. Well, he's from Detroit, came back to Detroit, and he turned radical. Put up a picture of a Black Madonna with a Black baby Jesus and changed the name. Said, we don't need to be integrated. We need to do our own thing. So they got a long history.
so what made you go ahead?
And they should have known that we got the Black community had problems with air business people. Yeah. And they didn't take that into account. I guess they got paid a little money and they endorsed.
Well, Hazel Park Taekwondo makes the point that brought to you by the community. I want to, when you say that at Hazel Park, I think you may be stirred around the issue a little bit. My computer's not working very good today. I'm getting kicked out, but follow the money is my answer. Follow the money.
Yeah, there's no question about it. And these people, gas stations all fucked up. People don't want to stop at a certain time of the evening. And they take all the money that Black folks give them and they go back to their communities and build them up. Something is wrong with that. They don't support the Black community. They don't do anything but take. Let's call it like it is.
Well, let me ask you a question.
We don't need to be voting for them. We got to send a message. We elected Rashida Tlaib in the 13th, and she just said, screw you. I'm for the Gaza Strip. You should move over there and fight. The Gaza Strip, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, Black community, that's not at the top of our priority. Not that we don't think about it. Can't help but see it. But it's not a top priority. So we got to stop electing them. Stop making them rich. They take our money.
Well, that's a great point. I'm
They
going to
take
answer
our
the question.
money.
How does the money of the people of Detroit and of other communities end up in the hands of the clergy and some of these politicians? Flowing from where? Flowing from Dearborn, perhaps?
Dearborn, you name it. They taking it. They got their hands out. So they get 4 or 5 ministers whose churches are struggling to get people, and they pay them all. I'm just amazed that the Black slate put themselves out there. They should rescind that and endorse.
So Kenneth says your article had a lot of hit dogs on it. Well, we know what's hollering. We know exactly what's going on with the hit dogs, right? They're looking at where their money's coming from, and they want their money.
What did I get? They fucking with me? I can't get a job in administration or some shit.
Good morning, Mr. Duckett. So Adolf, your mic's a little choppy, so maybe you're not.
Is that it? Okay.
Maybe he's a little choppy this morning. Maybe it's not his microphone.
No, it's me.
In this weird political world, a white candidate may be more beneficial to the black community than these Arab candidates. Less, more. Let me ask you a question. And I've been pretty critical, and I saw it from an outsider's viewpoint. But I've watched, the shows on CNN. I've watched Detroit in Black and White. I watch a few other podcasts, and I kind of feel that way. I feel the same way about the other Senate candidate who had a brilliant speech a few months ago or whatever on the Michigan Senate floor. But I'm wondering right now if she even wrote that damn speech.
Well, maybe not. They got speech writers, but my beef was not with her or Haley Stevens. It's what I do. Don't waste your vote and give it to him, because if he wins the nomination, you got to remember 1998 when Jeffrey Feiger shocked the world and won a Democratic nomination for governor and got smoked. A ticket, top down, got smoked, except Granholm, who ran from Feiger, and that's how she was created. But these so-called progressive Democrats, they are a virus in the party. They're gonna kill the Democratic Party. So you got Rashida Tlaib going all these different districts, trying to rally candidates that pay homage to her. And we sit back and we let it happen. We voted her in. We were so eager to get rid of John Conyers that's who we got. Sri Canada, a fucking idiot that came from Ann Arbor, moved into a state rep district because he paid a whole lot of people to support him, and they carried his water, and he won. Then he ran for Congress. All these people got in the race and split the vote. He won. And don't do a damn thing. Not one thing. Even Rashida said his resident called my office because he's a no-show, but he'll send a ton of paper, a lot of trees undied coming from his office. It's just ridiculous. So now we had a state rep running against it. Mary Waters gets in the race. Why? Same way with Rashida. Man, we need, what happened to the machine politics? Because that wouldn't have happened if you had Coleman Young or McNamara running the machine. We don't have a machine. We got all independent people running every time. Got 10 people running here. Hey, that state Senate race, it's just too many people. You don't know what you're gonna get. What Forrest Gump said, like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get because you start biting pieces. Ooh, that don't taste good. That don't taste good. Boom, I got it. And that's what we're looking at. And we wake up, we might find a Arab candidate winning. So that's my beat of the week.
So I'm going to apologize to our viewers and our guest who's going to join us right now, Justin Onwenu. Did I get it close?
You got it.
He's a fourth-generation Detroiter, an attorney, and a public servant focused. I just received this, so I apologize. On expanding economic opportunity and strengthening local neighborhoods. He was appointed as Detroit's first director of small business affairs by Mayor Sheffield. He's led efforts to invest in neighborhoods and startups. He earned his JD, his law degree, from Columbia Law School, a graduate in honors, and teaches workers' rights law at U of D, University of Detroit Mercy School of Law. He began his career as a community organizer in Detroit and downriver, working in some of Michigan's most polluted communities to protect public health and drive local investment. He's running for state senate to protect rights, lower costs, invest in neighborhoods, and make Michigan's government more ethical and effective. Couple things that we hit on. Thank you. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us what you've done. I read a little bit. I don't want to take all your thunder.
So I always start with my family background, even more than my professional background. So my dad, my last name is from my dad. He immigrated from Nigeria to Detroit in his early 20s. He started a hair. Igbo. So started a small business in Detroit. He ran a hair care and beauty supply shop on 6 Mile, TJ's of London, for 31 years. My mom's side of the family immigrated from the deep south, Mississippi, Alabama, great migration story. Family of folks who were sharecropping in the deep south, escaping Jim Crow, and they came to Detroit for the same reasons: economic opportunity, escaping tyranny, and Jim Crow. And so my background is informed by my family. My granddad worked for the city of Detroit under Mayor Coleman Young and Dennis Archer. He was in the procurement department, so it was partially his job to make sure women and minority-owned businesses who previously were locked out of city contracts and opportunities actually had a shot. So, my background, both in city government and organizing work and law, is informed by the legacy and the work that my family.
You've been living it your whole life. Well, Adolf was a part of that administration in some way.
Yeah. So probably ran across.
Yes.
So you're an ambitious young man. How'd you end up at Columbia? Tell our viewers how you ended up.
Yeah, so I was doing organizing work. I mentioned, earlier I was doing work in Detroit with Rouge, Ecorse, 42 and 7, some of the most heavily polluted, uninvested neighborhoods.
I'm a downriver guy, so
in the whole state. So that's how I got my start, standing up to powerful interests, standing up. Only oil refinery in the state of Michigan is located in this neighborhood. So I was doing local organizing work, going door to door, church basements, community meetings, and started to work with a lot of lawyers who would evaluate how our laws are broken. And I really wanted to increase, access to opportunity, economic opportunity. So went to law school, started studying.
Columbia.
So in New York, was interested in workers' rights, anti-monopoly work. There's a huge movement around, support for small businesses, economic development, and workers. And so wanted to learn.
Where you do your undergrad?
Houston.
Okay, so you deep south to
Let's
know.
I'm going to include some of our viewers here. Deborah Harris. Good morning, Deborah. How does small black businesses compete with big business? Which is a great question. So hold that one back.
Yep.
The reason why a councilwoman got into the race and prevented I can't concentrate. I lost my mind. Prevented the one on one between State Representative McKinney and Shree Tanadar is because the check from Shree cleared the bank. Thank you, Kenneth.
I'm gonna ask about gas.
Yep.
Don't you think it's too many people running in your race?
So I'm fortunate. The East Side District, which is the 3rd district, has about 30,000 people in it. The district where I am running, District 1, has 2 people. So it's Detroit and downriver.
Okay,
So
good.
just 2 people, but the distinction is clear. The contrast is clear. I think I'm the right one now.
Okay.
So tell us who holds that seat currently.
So it's an open seat.
It's
So
open.
it's redrawn because of the Voting Rights Act. We have 0 black men in the seats in it right
Yeah.
now. And so it's redrawn because of the Voting Rights Act. It's a combination of Erica Geis, Sylvia Santana,
yeah,
McMahon,
And Erica turned
Taylor?
out.
termed out. Exactly. So open seat.
I thought Sylvia Santana was she a state senator?
Yep, she's termed out as well.
So tell us all the communities that are involved. I know it's Taylor and
So it's redrawn. So it starts in Wyandotte, then it goes Lincoln Park, River Rouge, Ecorse, and Detroit. The part of Detroit is Southwest Detroit, Porttown, where we are now, downtown, Midtown, New Center, Boston, and all the way up to 6 Mile, all the way over to Maryville.
And as you know, you've done a lot of work down in Ecorse and Rouge. Those are really challenged areas, which is sad because I used to hang out in Ecorse when I was a young man, and it's just Ecorse is really struggling.
Yep, exactly. So, but we've been building community, been building organization and infrastructure. And now it's a 2-person race. I'm the only person who I think has been in this community, been working in this community, didn't move to this community. So don't do it right in. I need your support, need your help.
Yeah, you're in my district. I
Yeah.
live in Fort Town.
Yes,
So
sir.
that's good. Let's take a break and we'll come back and continue the conversation. You go ahead.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. Are you living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, or maybe you know someone who's in the same situation? The probate process may be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. We have several nonprofit partners who have free attorneys who can assist you. Contact our office, 313-224-5990, or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. Don't lose your family property. Some of these properties have been in the family for 4 or 5 generations. Contact us now. We're here to help.
So I'm running against.
We're back.
Okay, we are here, Detroit in black and white at McShane's. Adolph stepped away. He's a trooper. He's still here. He's still part of the show. He's doing well, but he needs to be a little better. But now we have the world famous Vanessa Moss hosting the program. Attorney, well-known attorney, running for a position in the Wayne County probate court. We talked a little bit about that last night, and Vanessa is going to take over the show.
Oh, okay. That's what the boss said. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Detroit in Black and White. Listen, you already know what we want you to do. Like, subscribe, share. Like, subscribe, share. You can catch Detroit Black and White on all social media platforms. If you want to participate, you can always join in the comment section. I don't think we have the link up in the corner, but if that link comes up in the corner, you could come on in the room. You could join us live here at McShane's, which is on the corner of Michigan Avenue and Trumbull, Detroit in Black and White. Oh, one more thing. D-Love, guess what? I got it in the mail. Thank you.
So tell our friends out there who we're joined by this morning.
Okay, so
please remind them, because
we
you need to hear
are
his name a few
joined by
times.
Justin. Oh, I call him Justin. Oh, he looked like he could be my son. Okay. Justin and I have become acquainted with one another for over the last 6.
I thought you were going to say friends. You said acquaintance.
Okay. We're friends.
There we
We
go.
are friends. The last 6 months or more,
Yeah.
we've been campaigning together, believe it or not. Justin is quite impressive. I don't know if he's given his resume, but we're gonna go ahead and let him do this. He is running for Senate in District 3.
District 1.
District 1. Senate in District 1. There are 2 people in the race. There's a big difference between Justin and the other person. I don't have anything against the other person, but I do say representation matters. I think in this climate, I think that in these United States, I think that in Detroit, I think in Wayne County, I think in the state of Michigan, that we should have representation that reflects each and every one of us. So, having said that, go ahead, Justin. We saw each other on Wednesday night in Wyandotte. And one of the conversations was about throw your curveball, data centers. Data centers and DTE and the water and the impact that data centers are going to have on us as Michiganders. Do you want to tell our guests what is your take on data centers? And what is your take on the impact that data centers, first of all, they're coming. No matter what people say, they're coming. As a matter of fact, they're here. They're already here in the state of Michigan. What is your opinion as to the impact that the data centers are going to have in terms of DTE? And by the way, people fuss about DTE, but I don't know if people are engaged. Do you know that the governor appoints who sits on the Public Utility Commission?
And-
I don't know if you guys know that.
And before we move on, let Justin answer if I can call him Justin. Justin Onwenu is the candidate. He has a law degree. He's community organizer downriver and in Detroit area. So don't forget the name, right? So when people go off this, can we get his name up there, Teresa?
Thank you.
Yeah. Can we just get his name up there? So when people forget, you don't want them to think 3 days from now, what the heck was that young man's name again?
Right.
His name is Justin Onwenu. And
On
did I
the
get
way.
it okay?
That's what
Yeah,
I call
yeah.
him. I call him Justin on the way, but trust me.
But when you get to when you get to the ballot, when you get to the polling place on
August 4th.
of this year, you're going to have an opportunity, and you want to know who you're going to
Yeah.
vote for, and you want to remember.
And why it's important. So again, I got my start as an organizer. I'm an attorney. I've done a lot of work in the labor movement. I teach labor law, Detroit Mercy School of Law. Been working in the city, investing millions of dollars into our neighborhood, small businesses, so that we can make sure that we are growing from our neighborhood, and not just downtown, midtown, Forktown, etc. But let me tell you this: August 4th is the primary. The distinction is clear. I have a lot of respect for the individual that I'm running against, former Representative Ayash. But there's a real distinction. When we said and looked at Project 2025 in the 2024 election, and we saw all of the things that were in that book about attacks on our voting rights, our civil rights, our economic rights, Black communities, folks went to my colleague and said, we need you to support Kamala Harris. She may not be perfect, but we need to make sure that we're protecting our communities in the face of Trump. And he said nothing. He refused to support it. And so right now, all of the hell that we are catching in our communities from a national level coming on down, it's important that we have folks who not just represent our community. We have 0 Black men in the state Senate right now. I think that matters. But people who actually understand what's at stake and are committed to fighting for us. On the question of data centers, I think it's important. I mentioned I've been working in the economic development space, but I also have an environmental justice and clean water. Been working in the labor movement. I think I'm uniquely positioned to lead on this issue. What you said is right. It's not a question of are they coming or are they not. The question is what guardrails, rules, restrictions are we going to put in place to make sure that our communities are protected? I think we need a statewide standard to make sure that our water is not siphoned off and misused. We need a statewide standard to make sure that our electricity prices for individuals, for homeowners, renters, etc., does not skyrocket. We need a statewide standard to make sure that these are not being cited in places where people don't want them there. We need to make sure that we have local control, community benefits. Labor is building these centers. And so I really am someone that thinks we need a uniform standard that protects our environment, that protects workers, that protects local communities. And I think I'm the person to lead on that.
And I'm surrounded by attorneys, guys. I'm doing my best, all right? So tell us, you're a younger man. We talk about growing up downriver where I grew up. My dad worked in a chemical plant. I lived in Taylor. He worked in Trenton. But from the Detroit border all the way down to almost Monroe County, it was all factories, right? DTE, Monsanto, chemical companies, U.S. Steel, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So
what's it like? So, and see, comment, my position on data centers is that we need a statewide standard to protect our water, to prevent electricity prices from skyrocketing, having local control of community benefits, and labor needs to be at that table too. So that's my position. It's been consistent, whether I'm in the room with labor, environmental folks, economic development folks, it's been consistent. On your comment, it's true. Both Detroit and downriver have some of the most heavily concentrated areas of pollution, of industry. And for me, whether it's steel mills or other industries, we need to make sure that our health is protected. We also need to make sure that local communities are actually getting the jobs in these communities. I think that's been a huge challenge. And so that's an issue I'm going to lead on.
Thank you, Mr. 1213, for your comment. There was another question about, Teresa, about the Arab community. Can we, I'm trying to get to your comments here. I'm having some problems with my computer. Let the data center pay for the water bills of those who live in the community that surround the data center, Mr. 12. That's a great point, Mr. 1213. The money is there. Data, Ms. Suzuki, data or surveillance centers? That's another good question. Way too much background noise. Well, Dwayla, we're at McShane's.
We're trying.
At least Nestle pays $200 a year. Kenneth Powell. Well, that sounds like a pretty big number. We're trying, Karen. Is Nestle still the owner of a lot of water in Michigan? Less, and I think they are.
Yes.
I think the answer is right. That's what data centers do, suck up water. Okay, you answered the question about data centers. Thank you for keeping honest, Mr. 1213. Sometimes we need a little push. Millions of dollars in what neighborhood is a question.
Yeah.
And Public Service Commission is chosen by the governor too. Such a cluster bang, Karen. No data centers needed, Kenneth Powell. The Vanessa Moss, that introduced by your friend Hazel Park Taekwondo, who's also a friend of the show. Thank you, Hazel Park. Here's the question. I got to it last. It took me a minute. Does a candidate recognize the angst that many in the Black community have against the Arab monopoly?
I'm reading the question. I think for me, I've been knocking doors in probably one of the most diverse districts in the state. It is still a Black district. Again, this seat was redrawn because of the Voting Rights Act lawsuit, because Black folks have had our voice, our vote, our representation undermined for decades and decades and decades, and even within the last couple of years in Michigan. I mentioned we have 0 Black men in the state Senate. Representation matters, and it positions us better to actually move on civil rights, move on voting rights, move on the fact that we have our Black history being undermined, move on the fact that we have a racial wealth expanding. And so what I would say is, whether you are Black, white, Arab, whether you're Christian, Muslim, Jewish, my position is that the doors that I'm knocking, folks are concerned about the same thing. It's economic justice. It's this racial wealth gap that is expanding. And I feel like in this race, there's 2 people running. I feel like I'm the only person who understands the plight, the anxiety, the frustration that Black folks, particularly those who have descended from slavery, are feeling about this moment. What I mentioned before is in 2024, this was, front of mind for folks, thinking about how we protect our rights, our civil rights, our voting rights, our economic rights. And my opponent is someone who said, I care about this one specific issue. It's something that's very important to my community. And if Kamala Harris isn't exactly where I want her to be, I'm not going to support her at all. And I think that that's a frustration that many folks, particularly Black voters, feel in this moment. And so I'm someone that's going to try to bring together, whether you're Arab, Black, I'm going to be focused on making sure our community has the representation and the fight that we need. But I also think that we need to be clear about folks who aren't standing with our community. We can do that in a way that brings us together.
And I think it's important, and I said this last night on the show, we talked about it. The Vice President Harris received 75 million votes, and people are talking like she didn't accomplish anything.
Right.
And I think that's ridiculous. 75 million votes. That's a lot of voters in this country that voted for the Vice President. There's a question, Ms. Suzuki. Do you believe, here's the Robin Hood question, do you believe in taxing the rich like the mayor of New York to help balance the budget?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a progressive. I'm someone that believes in progressive income taxes. I also think, what New York has, the pied-à-terre tax, which is a tax on sort of homes that are worth more than homes that are in Michigan. I think it's a great proposal for New York. I don't know if we have the number of homes that are worth 5, 10, 20 million in the way that you see in New York. But as a general concept, I think we need to make sure that we have progressive income taxes, because it's folks who aren't paying their fair share that I think oftentimes leads to budget revenue shortfalls, etc.
So 2 questions. Ms. Suzuki asked something about funding for education. Would you support that?
Yes.
And I didn't get the last part of her question.
Yeah.
And also, they want to know whether or not you read the article that Adolph Mongo authored a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
And I guess they want to know, what is your take on that article?
Yeah, I mean, on the first question about education and funding, I'm someone that wants to fund our schools. Detroit receives less per pupil in surrounding areas. And so when we think about, if you are a child who is not well positioned to read in the 4th grade, your whole entire life trajectory is off. So I'm going to fight for fair funding for Detroit schools, especially. On the second question, I did read the article a couple of times. I talked about the article with folks a lot. And what I will say is that I think that there is frustration with the fact that in Detroit, the blackest city in America, one of the blackest cities in America, we have such little Black representation at the congressional level and at the state Senate level. We are in danger of not having any Black state senators in the blackest city, big city in the country. And so, Adolph and I are in different positions. I'm running for state senate. Adolph is in a different position than I am, and so our tones are going to sound different. But I think the frustration that he's expressing about the former congresswoman's unwillingness to, in many ways, speak to the issues that are impacting Black folks, supporting Kamala Harris is just one example of that. I think it's a frustration that she has to answer to. I think it's a frustration that my opponent, Abraham Ayash, has to answer to. I am someone that is always going to stand up against anti-Black racism, against Islamophobia, against anti-Semitism. I'm someone that's going to try to bring our communities together and be unashamed to talk about the racial wealth gap and so many issues that we're facing. You know, the language is something that I am in a different position than Adolph to speak to that. But I think the anxiety and the frustration, I think, is something that folks need to answer.
Let's add a question. You may have hit on it. We may have read it earlier, but let's talk about entrepreneurship for young Black Americans. Tell us what your thoughts are on that. Tell us how, I talk about Ecorse, River Rouge.
Yep.
Will you be representing Taylor, part of Taylor?
No,
You
Taylor.
lost that.
Okay.
You bought that. Erica Geis, who's kind of a little bit of a legend down there.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Especially in Taylor.
Is no longer.
She's termed out.
Okay.
So
She's termed out. Great lady. So tell us about your thoughts on that. You came from you're a lawyer, but you took a different route.
Yeah,
but what about
exactly.
a young man that says, I want to start a landscaping business, or
Yeah.
I want to start, whatever.
I mentioned, my background in this. My dad ran a hair care and beauty supply
Right.
shop. I'm the only Black-owned hair care and beauty supply shops in the city for over 30 years. My granddad worked for the city under Mayor Coleman Young and was responsible for making sure women and Black and minority contractors had a fair shot with the city to do business. And so I'm someone, my organizing background, my legal background is still, my family background in small business and entrepreneurship is so central to who I am. In the city of Detroit, it is my belief we have amazing programs like Motor City Match. Under my leadership and working with Mayor Sheffield, we've invested millions of dollars into programs like the Detroit Legacy Business Project, which honors businesses that have been in Detroit for decades. We have so many people who are new, who are excited to start their businesses in Detroit. We want them to do that. But we also need to make sure that the folks who've been in Detroit, who've stayed in Detroit, who've been passing on family-owned businesses for generations, that they are getting support and resources. And so the Detroit Legacy Business Project is one program that we've started. The Detroit Capital Hub, it is still far too difficult for Black entrepreneurs, Black small businesses to get access to capital. When you go to a bank and you try to get a loan, just like car insurance and just like so many other issues, we are oftentimes redlined and have a difficult time getting a fair shot. So we started the Detroit Capital Hub to connect small businesses in Detroit to small business lending. We started the Detroit the Detroit Startup Fund, working with Black Tech Saturdays, because so many of our young folks and even older folks have amazing ideas, but they just need resources to get started. So my focus at the state Senate level is going to be making sure that we close that racial wealth gap. And that starts with fighting for workers, fighting for fair pay, fighting for a higher minimum wage and paid leave, but it also means building wealth in our communities through entrepreneurship, through neighborhood investment. And that's something I think I'm in a good position.
We have too many brilliant young people that are being left out of the process because they don't have the resource.
Yeah.
And you are going to focus on that.
Yes.
Is what you're telling our viewers.
It's my background. It's what I've done. It's something I understand. And for Black business owners in particular, I think that there is a lot the state could be doing to better support our communities, to better support Detroit small businesses. And, the comment is right. Certain communities, whether in the Nigerian American community, Arab American community, have certain networks that have built over time where they can sort of lean on each other, depend on each other. And I think one of the things that I've heard at Black Tech Saturdays, at Michigan Black Business Alliance, from many of my family members who have that same experience, is that oftentimes it can be difficult for us to have that same network. We don't have those same resources. And so I deeply, on a visceral level, understand what needs to happen. I think we also need people who can work with our mayor and our city government to bring resources back to Detroit. And I think right now, at a time when we're facing cuts from the federal level, attacks from the federal level, we need folks at the local level who understand our communities, who didn't just move here from Hamtramck to run for office. We need folks.
He throwing shade, y'all.
We need folks who understand and who can put the resources where we need.
So Justin, one of the things that I struggle with is that people of my generation say, and people older say, hey, it's time for the young folks to take over. It's time for them to, run things.
Right.
However, I've seen the opposite. They talk the talk, but don't necessarily walk the walk.
Mm.
Don't support with dollars. Don't support with their voice.
Mm.
Don't support with their walk.
Mm-hmm.
What has been your experience? Because like I said, you could be my son, right? Actually, I think you're the same age as my youngest son. You guys are the same age, right? What kind of response have you been getting from? Because the seasoned folks are the ones that's going to determine who's going to be in office.
100%.
I'm seasoning. I'm not seasoned yet, but I'm seasoning. I'm cooking. So, what is it?
I mean, my experience, I was taught very early on that it's your elders, it's people who come before you who know how you can avoid bumping your head against the wall. You know, my granddad is always like, if I had your energy and your youth, be unstoppable. And so I'm someone who understands that for older folks who have paved the way, who fought for whether it's Coleman Young, whether it's civil rights, voting rights, economic rights, that they want to pass the baton, but they also need young people who are willing to listen to that wisdom. And we need them to support us. And so right now, I really think it goes both ways. I have tried my hardest to make sure that I am listening to elders, that I am understanding the needs of our communities, as well as making sure that this younger, newer generation has a voice coming up. And so my experience has been good. We've been supported by the Black Slate, by the original East Side Slate, the Council of Baptist Pastors, the Michigan Democratic Party Black Caucus. So I really do feel like we've gotten support from many of the elders in our community who are trying to pass the baton. But we need your support. You know, we have an issue with poverty in our community. We have an issue with neighborhood investment in our community. We have an issue with seniors being pushed out. We have an issue with crime. All of these are issues that we've been talking about for many, 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 many years. And so I am putting myself forward. I think the distinction is clear. At a time where Black communities have been under attack for such a long time, I think it's time for us to send one of our own to Lansing. That means we have to listen. We got to bring that new energy, but we have to listen to elders. And I think I've been trying to balance both as well.
A couple of comments.
Yeah.
You want to go ahead, or do you want me to
Okay,
read?
no, go
You
ahead.
can't say
And thank you for saying I look better without the hat.
I didn't get that line, but
I thought, I
So,
was like, you do look better.
I've been
another one.
I've been
Onwenu
outside
looks good without the hat.
knocking doors, so you know the hat is just second nature.
Young people listen when they trust what you speak. Ms. Sheila, who is an educator, we make young potential leaders kiss the ring of elder politicians too much. Ms. Suzuki, that's unfortunate, but we still need the right politicians. They must come with integrity. We don't care
That's true.
what you are, truthy, Ms. Sheila. Networking is what got us the People's Store and Food Co-op. Kenneth Powell, a good friend of the show. Another educator, right? Kenneth Powell's an educator.
So the question, what support will you give to the vulnerable? So I'm glad you asked that question. So again, my whole background is in organizing. The whole reason why I got into doing organizing and community work is that I was taught from a very young age, co-payments are expensive. I knew what a co-payment was at 9 years old. My mom would tell me, you know, don't play around too much. If you bump your head and have to go to the hospital and get hurt, I may not be able to afford your co-payment. Now, she would always chuckle and laugh and be ha hee hee. But I think for my mom, who raised me a single mom, to have to think about what it means to pay for a co-payment if your knuckleheaded kid is getting hurt. There are far too many families that have to think about how to pay for healthcare, far too many families that are having to think about groceries. And then you go to the grocery store and it's got bad meat. So when we think about support for the vulnerable, that's going to be front of mind, top of mind for me every single day in Lansing. I am somebody that's going to be knocking doors in our neighborhoods, doing wellness checks, treating the position not just as a lawmaker, but that of an organizer. So support for the vulnerable, whether it's on the housing front, transit, groceries, is something that is the whole reason why I'm doing this.
And network is the key to Black entrepreneurship. Nigerian businesses, Ms. Suzuki. Thank you, Ms. Teresa, for your authentic skills. If you get into office, what will interest of the community from your own interest or special interest, Ms. Sheila?
Yes, can I answer that?
Absolutely.
So one of the biggest issues we have right now is ethics, campaign finance reform, lack of transparency is are some of the biggest things that stand in our way to lowering our energy bills, to making sure that water is affordable, to getting grocery stores in our neighborhood, to getting home repair dollars to our homes so that folks can fix their roofs and steps and porches. Ethics, campaign finance issues, special interests are the biggest things that stand in the way. So one of the things and one of the reasons why I'm running is to pass campaign finance reform, ethics reform, so that people can know that their politicians are working for them and not for special interests. I work in city government. At the city government level, we abide by the Freedom of Information Act. You know, at the state level, the governor and state legislators don't have to abide by the Freedom of Information
Well, they
Act.
used to.
Don't have to open up. Don't have to open up their emails. Don't have to open up their text messages to public scrutiny. When we think about in Lansing, Lansing is 92 minutes away from Detroit, depending on where you are. People get to Lansing and act completely differently when they're in office. I'm running against somebody who was taking thousands of dollars in free meals and gifts and hotels and flights from lobbyists. The same lobbyists that lobby on behalf of the very interests that folks get on social media and talk bad about and say, I'm going to stand up to them. Well, you're taking their money. You're getting taken out, you're getting flown out, you're getting flued out, you're getting going to hotels. And so I am someone that has always been ethical, that's always had the people's interests at heart. You can see that by my record, by my work, by how I was raised. And that's what I'm going to be doing in Lansing, even though it's 92 minutes away.
So I have a question.
Yes.
You were elected, and I noticed that you said that you've been endorsed by this Democratic club, this Democratic club, but the district is comprised of Dems, Republicans, Independents, Black, White, Arabs, Hispanics. What is your idea of bridging the gap? Because now when somebody says Republican or somebody says Dem, it's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, you're the boogeyman, you're the boogie her, or whatever the case may be.
Wait a minute. He's not apologizing for being progressive. And we can expand on that a little bit. So progressive is getting a bad rap right now. So when you talk about progressive, progressive should not be looking down on the voters and acting like you're freaking superior to them. And that's what we're seeing out of some of the Michigan progressive people. So
I'm smiling because I'm glad you asked that question. So no special interest money of any kind at all. To the question of what it means to be progressive and bringing people together across party, this is a Democratic primary. And so, I am proud to be a Democrat. I am a Democrat. I'm asking for Democrats to vote. But you also, in order to get anything done, you have to add up the majority of votes. And sometimes those may be independents. Sometimes those may be Republicans. And so when I'm in office, I'm going to be a Democrat, a strong Democrat, who's also able to bring people together around issues that matter. When we think about ethics reform, campaign finance reform, getting big money, special interest, dark money out of our politics, that's something that Republicans, independents, Democrats care about. Now, on the question of what it means to be progressive, I think that Democrats historically, when you think about over the last decades, what it means to be a progressive to me is you are fighting for economic justice. You are fighting for racial justice. You're fighting for voting rights. Right now, I sense that there is so much frustration with folks who call themselves progressive, who are only progressive on the internet, but who haven't visited the neighborhood. I think that is what people are expressing frustration around. There is a sort of nonprofit complex, a nonprofit progressivism that I think people feel like have displaced communities like Detroit, who have always been at the forefront of movements, who've always been progressive, but who may not see themselves in this new age, new wave of progressivism that has been driven by so many nonprofits.
So you're not a radical.
I am
not a mega radical on the left from the right, because mega, if you call somebody mega, you call somebody progressive, they're the extremes on both sides. But we have to take a quick break.
And I don't think I'm extreme at all. I don't think it's extreme to want a higher minimum wage. I don't think it's extreme to want the Voting Rights Act not to be good. I don't think it's extreme to want women's rights. I don't think it's extreme to want to eliminate poverty in our communities, to invest in our neighborhoods. That's what I'm focused on. And so I am not as concerned about the title or the packaging of it all. I'm just really focused on the issues. That's been the work that I've been doing. I mentioned that because it's soul work, it's heart work, it's work that's in my gut and in my spirit. It's work that I'm going to do, whether the title is progressive, Democrat, whatever the title or whatever the phrase is.
I think.
Yeah. So we're going to take a break. We're going to come back to Detroit Black and White on Saturday morning's edition. Listen. We are at McShane's, and yes, it is a bit loud, but this is our house.
Yes.
This is our house.
Bob Roberts.
So you guys have to bear with us. You know what? It always gets better. It'll always get better with time. Yeah. All right, we're going to go to commercial break. We'll be back. Detroit in black and white. I'm using my lawyer voice.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Detroit in black and white, our Saturday morning's edition. Yes, I am using my lawyer voice. Yes, I am using the voice that I use in the courtroom. Yes, I'm using the voice that I will use as your next Wayne County probate judge.
Say that.
Listen. Are you listening? Listen. We have Justin here, and Justin is going to explain. He's going to expand some more on what progressive is, because what I've seen, I'm just telling you what I've seen. When we see progressive, I see the face of Imam. I see the face of Rashida. I see the face of
Timothy Square Bay.
I see the face of, I'm just telling you how it's painted. AOC, okay? Those are the faces that we see, right?
And Timothy said you sound like a regular Democrat. Yeah. So that's, go ahead, I'm sorry.
So I need you to explain what is the difference between those progressives and you as a progressive.
Yeah, and again, I'm less focused on, I like the comment, I'm less focused, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. I am less focused on the title, the packaging, and more focused on the policy. So if somebody calls me progressive, great. Somebody wants to call me a regular Democrat, great. I think right now what we are seeing, I do agree that when people think about what it means to be progressive, they imagine of AOC or Rashida or Bernie Sanders. And I think we also need to appreciate our history. Fannie Lou Hamer is somebody who I think of as unbossed, unbought, unafraid, progressive, unafraid of powers that be, unafraid to talk about racial wealth gap, racial issues that we have been facing for generations. So I think in many ways, I'll just say I think Black folks who have always stood for justice, economic justice, racial justice for everyone, social justice, all of this have in many ways felt pushed out of what people think of as this progressive movement. And I think that is a mistake. I think that is a tragedy. And I think it's on people who think of themselves as progressive leaders who are not in our communities to correct that. Because right now we're seeing splits in work that should be unified. If you are somebody who calls yourself progressive because you want to put an end to poverty, an end to big money in our politics, an end to neighborhoods not getting an investment, an end to the racial targeting of our voting rights, and then to all of that, then you have to have a philosophy and a thought process that also includes Black communities like Detroit. And if you don't, and if you go to a progressive meeting and you don't see us at it, you need to ask yourself why. And I think you need to make a note and adjustments accordingly.
So I think we would be remiss, because you talked about representation, you talked about Black communities, but I think we would be remiss if we don't address that there are white progressives who have follow the same line that you follow. So when you talk about Fannie Lou Hamer, there's somebody else that's just like a Fannie Lou Hamer. that's not like the face of the progressives.
Mhm.
Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. All right. Can you tell us what has been some of your hurdles in this run for city?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest hurdles are twofold. So if you had asked a year ago, it's like, well, what happens when 30 people get into a race? We are talking about the importance of Black representation of all of the issues that we care about, of integrity in our politics. But what happens when we have 30 people who have the same politics and running against one person who's able to split the vote 1,000 votes? So in my case, that is not the case. There's only 2 people. So I'm fortunate that the distinction is clear. There's only 2 people in the state Senate District 1 race. So that was one of the initial hurdles. Now the hurdle is we need to get the word out. We are knocking doors every single day. It costs a lot of money to run for office. And I don't think that people understand what money is used for. And I think I am someone that doesn't take corporate PAC money, special interest money. And I think, it can be difficult to raise money as a grassroots candidate who's raising dollars, $5, $10 at a time. And what I will say is the purpose of money in campaigns is to knock on doors, to send mail, to send digital ads. And if we can have organized people who maybe are willing to volunteer, you can combat a lot of money that's coming into an election. And so money is the big challenge. Knocking doors is the big challenge. And making sure that we're unified is
I don't know if you can see that comment from our longtime viewer and friend Parwogs. You do not receive money.
Yeah.
Go ahead, you can read it.
Yes, I mean the question is, don't receive corporate PAC money, special interest money. Can I speak to the endorsement that I've received from the Michigan Democratic Jewish Caucus? So I've been endorsed by over 100 organizations. The question earlier about Black and Arab sort of tensions, I think my answer was very clear, and maybe you sense that I was being careful about the answer, and that's for a reason. I think so many times we are seeing divisions across communities, whether it's Black communities and Hispanic communities. This district has some of the highest concentration of Hispanic immigrants in the state. When we think about divisions between the Black and Arab and Jewish communities, there's so many divisions in our politics. I've been clear about the importance that we invest in Black communities, that we protect our communities, that we defend our communities. I'm not going to be ashamed about my politics on that at all. But in order to build a coalition that has power, you have to seek support broadly. And so I've been endorsed by the Black caucus, the Jewish caucus, the LGBTQ caucus, the Black slate, the East Side slate, the Council of Baptist Pastors, Warren Evans. I mean, we built support.
Wait, what was the last one you said?
Warren Evans.
Okay, thank you.
So we built broad support, and I'm proud of the support that we're building across communities.
Timothy said the people who you just named are more independent, which is interesting. Listening is free, but real life skills.
Look, it's a broad coalition.
And speak up, Black lawyer, female voice, 27 in chat. Thank you. Her lawyer. I have a question for you. Okay, this is where I struggle in the political. I'm a little older, obviously. Why is it that politicians today, and this is both parties, this isn't direction, it's like they follow a checklist. And Timothy's talking about independence, right? There's 20 things that the Democrats believe, and there's 20 things that the Republicans believe. And why do people never stray? Why do I come from an area, John Dingell was my congressman, right? So, and this is just one example. People can agree or disagree. He was what you would call a progressive, right? Healthcare,
right?
Workers' rights, all these things. But he also believed in other rights. And I'll use gun rights as an example. Why is it that people do not think independently? Why don't we have Congress people? Why don't we have U.S. senators? Why don't we have state senators that think independently and can agree with 8 things that the Democrats believe in and 2 things that the Republicans agree?
When I knock doors, and one of the things when you run for office, you get a list of who's voted, who has a history of voting, who's an absentee voter, that sort of data. So when someone knocks on the door, 9 times out of 10, they already have some understanding of who you are, how likely the Democratic Party thinks you are to vote for Democrats, your voting history, et cetera, et cetera. I have been surprised when I knock doors and talk to people who voted for Democrats 10 times out of 10 times, 9 times out of 10 times. there is still a spirit of independence that the people have, that our politicians do not.
I agree with that.
My mom, I grew up not knowing who my mom voted for. She would tell me, vote for the person, vote for someone with integrity, evaluate their policies, and make a decision. Don't be blinded just because somebody, says they stand for you. They have this one title. You ignore all of their other background. So I think, I'm a Democrat, probably a Democrat, but I'm someone that is going to, on the issues, try to build coalitions with folks in the UP that are paying high energy prices, folks on the West Side who are concerned about our water, folks outside of Detroit who are concerned about alleviating poverty, people in Detroit who are not in my district, who care about healthcare access. So I'm going to be someone, and if you look at my endorsements, you go to justinformi.com, I'm someone that has shown that I can build coalitions, even with people who don't agree with me. The mayor of Wyandotte and the mayor of Detroit and the mayor of Lincoln Park and Ecorse and River Rouge, they all have different politics. I'm seeking support from all of them. I've been supported by all of the mayors of Downriver in my district. I've been strongly rooted in Detroit as well. And so I think we need more people who are independently minded. And the way that you get that is you have people who build political infrastructure, not wholly dependent on one person or one party or one group of people. You have to knock the doors or one issue. And so what we saw in 2024 was a group of people who said, if you don't agree with me on this one issue, you're out. And so I think we need to eliminate that from our party. We need folks who have integrity, who have honor, who have discipline, but who can also build infrastructure so that we can fight for our neighborhoods and for our people, and not just one idea.
So I may not agree with you on 2 out of 20% of the things, but I still believe you're going to represent me.
Exactly. And most people, as long as people understand that you are fighting for them, that you're not getting paid thousands of dollars and free flights and meals and drinks and hotels by lobbyists, and then you go on social media and you say DTE is bad. As long as people understand that you are fighting for them, I think people have trust in your ability to deliver.
So we're not going to let you go ahead.
So it's a little after 11. It's
I'm
time
not
for us
done.
to-
I'm not done.
You keep going.
I have one more question. May I? I'm getting a look from the
One more,
boss over there.
one more question, and then we're gonna wrap it up. Go ahead, Jim.
So this young man works for the Sheffield administration. Tell us how that's going. Tell us how the process is working out, and tell us what you're. I understand when you work for somebody, you can't really say anything bad about that organization, but tell us in 2 minutes the progress and why you enjoy working for the Sheffield administration.
I think Mayor Sheffield got 77% of the vote. You don't do that unless you're tapped in to where the people are, right? I think we've seen in our first year, RX Kids, a historic investment in our babies and our mothers to make sure that pregnant mothers and folks who are coming out of childbirth have the resources to put food on the table and to provide. That is important. When we think about her directive to me, when I was in the city, we need to make sure that we are directing business investment and entrepreneurship-based investment in our neighborhoods, not just downtown, midtown, but in our neighborhoods. I know firsthand the heat that I get and the high expectations that she has for all of her cabinet to deliver for our neighborhood. I think that has been historic. When I see the work that she's doing to put stoplights in neighborhoods, I mean, she is a neighborhood-focused mayor. I'm proud to be someone who worked for her. I'm proud to be an attorney of hers. And I think she needs partners in Lansing who are going to bring resources, who are going to work with our local government to deliver for our neighborhoods. And that's what I've been all about.
And Miss Sheila says, don't change. You sound like you have integrity.
Thank you.
Please don't change and don't talk down to the people.
Absolutely.
That you work for. Today you work for the city, the residents of the city of Detroit. They should be your priority. And if you're elected to state senate, who will be your priority?
Yeah, exactly. It's the people. I think I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't think that right now in our politics, Lansing is 92 minutes away, but it's much further away when you think about how our politicians act when they get to Lansing. They forget, they come around during election time, and you never see them again for another 4 years. That's not who I am. That's not who I am. Based on how I was raised, based on my background, based on my integrity. And so I'm going to keep that up, and I'm really excited.
And we have a candidate that came on our show and said that he would talk to the people.
Yes, directly.
And he did not. No, we have an example of a young man that came on the show to run for office that was supposed to reach out to one of our viewers, and he refused. He never did that. So
Yeah, I saw him in Wyandotte. But, you know.
So at any rate, we're wrapping up Detroit Black and White. You can join us again on Wednesday at 8:30. Reality Strikes, Eric Brown comes on Monday. Listen, I do want to say this thing. Next week, we'll be getting the ballot of who's running for Wayne County Probate Court. I understand that there are some challenges. There's 5 people that filed. There's 2 people for sure that's going on that ballot. We're gonna see what's gonna happen with the other 3. We'll know next week, so I'll be talking about it. You all have a wonderful, prosperous, blessed weekend. We're looking forward to seeing you guys next week. Justin, thank you so much for coming.
Thanks so much for having me. It's an honor. Go to my website, check me out. We'd love to have your support.